What's good, everybody? It's your boy Big Nate. Welcome back to Big Nate's Book Reviews, home of the best book reviews. And today we have another dope ass book wrap up for you. Here today I have before you a bunch of books that I've read over the course of the past few weeks and months. And it's been a minute since I read them, but they still feel fresh, and it just don't feel right to move on without having my say about them. So we got a dope selection for you. I am actually, for the first time, like, out of weed, so I went and picked up a pre-roll. So this is the first ever featured pre-roll. Today we smoking on that Gastrada 36, whatever incarnation that is. But today we smoking on that. We waiting for the, you hear that? Oh, that was weak, but the homies know. So look at that. Oh my God, way better rolled than anything I've ever done. So this will be weird. This will be a video where I'm not constantly having to like relight it and shit, but watch it canoe or some dumb shit. You know how it goes. But today we smoking on that Gastrada 36. And today we are smoking this for, I can't really think of any, I should think of these before, but so I'm gonna just go again. This is gonna be in perfect proportion. We're smoking this in perfect proportion to all the authors that I'm presently reviewing, and whatever their grade they get, you get it. We're smoking this for all the authors that I'm about to discuss. So without further ado, doobie, ready to be sparked. And without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so all right, while I'm christening the doobie, man, first off, let me say it feels good to be back in the stew. I have not made a video, and it feels like at least a couple months, and I know BookTube's so glad about that. The BookTubers out there, they're like, finally Big Nate stopped making videos. We got the market back on lock. Sorry. Big Nate's back. By the way, I'm coming up from a little cold, a little sickness. And the reason I've been MIA for a minute is because, for one, starting a new job. Hold up. Look at that, it just lights like nothing. What are you doing? Maybe I ought to start doing this, but nah, I like the Big Nate pre-rolls better. But starting my new job, that's been the whole thing. Shout out to CU. I'm thinking about going back to school. I've submitted an application and everything. My house got infested with flies. You know, it's a number of different things that's kept me up. But like I said, Big Nate is back. The doobie is sparked. And without further ado, we finna get right into it. But first, nah, I'm just playing. But first, for real, let me know. And if I'm coughing excessively, like I said, it's because I'm just fresh off of a cold, or I've been coughing frequently. Should I smoke the doobie fresh off a cold? Open to interpretation. But what I was gonna say is, let me know what everyone's reading. It's been a little bit. I don't know what you guys got going on. You guys don't know what I got going on. I'm reading Cicero right now, Selected Works. Just finished The Unbearable Lightness of Being. This is what I thought about it. Psych, you're gonna have to wait. So hit that motherfucking subscribe button. And okay, so without further ado, let's like actually get into the books. So up first, and this is a fan favorite. People love this book, and I can see why. But up first we have Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. So this is obviously a quick little thing, and personally I think an excellent place to start with James Baldwin. I tried reading Go Tell It on the Mountain some time ago, and while I'm sure it's good, it was like, I think it's like essays, like nonfiction essays, and it just like wasn't to me, it wasn't a good starting point for Baldwin, just not in this time of my life. Whereas this book, I think, even though this is the only thing I've read, I would recommend this to anybody who's interested in James Baldwin. Oh, but anyway, so okay, what is this little, I was gonna say book, novel, but really it's a novella. What is this novella about? So Giovanni's Room to me is essentially the story of this character named David, who's like an American expat thing, basically like American, like living in Paris, France, and Paris? No. Wow, oh, I might cut that. living in Paris. And he goes on to meet the titular character of this book, Giovanni, who's actually like an Italian expat. And the two of them, they go on to form, the book basically follows the whole life course of their relationship, from like when they, you know, the thrill of first meeting each other, you know, like kind of that flirtatious kind of like, ooh, it's like butterflies, to the deepening of this relationship, watching it evolve over the course of the book, and then ultimately to the end of the book. And if it hasn't gone without saying, this is like, you know, it's like a homosexual relationship taking place, I think, like, I would say like the middle to late 1900s. And so that's really what the story's about. And then all throughout this, we're getting because David's kind of like, you know, he is the protagonist. And him just dealing with his own kind of like sexual orientation throughout the book. He has several sort of like core experiences with that aspect of himself, as well as like with his family and stuff. So it's kind of this character study into David, as well as, like I said, the relationship with Giovanni. So to me, like, because obviously, like I said, this is a homosexual relationship. And like I say that because I think one of the main themes is that David is someone who has not at all come to terms with that aspect of himself, and he feels a real deep sense of shame and really even just guilt at his sort of like his feelings in this, you know, no spoiler or anything, but this romance, what ends up being this romance with Giovanni. And, you know, a great example of it, like one of the characters, Jacques, he's like a great little like secondary character, like surprising. I love what Baldwin did with him, but he's talking to what's bros. Bro, the thing with the doobies is these ones hit a little harder than the Big Nate stuff. You know what I'm saying? But he's talking to David, and he's like, because low-key Giovanni and like the gay underground Paris scene, Giovanni's kind of like hot shit, and what's bro's name, Jacques, is telling David, he's like, you know, Giovanni's art, like you can already tell, bro, Giovanni's like into you. He said, but that doesn't make you happy or proud as it should. It makes you frightened and ashamed. He said, why? And it is this thing where the deeper he feels this connection with Giovanni, the more shame, the more in proportion he feels the shame and the guilt. And he has this great line. He says something like, David, he says something like, there opened in me like a disdain or something for Giovanni, which was as powerful as my love and which was nourished by the same roots. The deeper he goes into that love, the more deeply he feels that sense of shame. And this has implications for the whole book, the relationship itself, and just who he is, his whole life. And you know, Jacques even has this great, again, like I said, shout out to Jacques, bro. Or rather what Baldwin did with Jacques. But he's like, he says something like, he's warning David, like, because something David does is he never, because of this shame, he never lets himself fully just embrace that relationship. And Jacques is talking to him about that. And he said, like, if you don't give yourself into this, right, this moment, this relationship with Giovanni, you're going to end up like me. And he's basically like, he has like, because Jacques also gay or bi or whatever, but he has sexual interactions, but he said that there's no light in them. He says it's all touch but no contact, all touch but no contact and no light. That's what he said. And it's, the light is when you let yourself give into that high, what separates sex from making love? It's that light, right? But David is someone who can't come to terms with that light. And we as the reader get to watch it all unfold. So that was nasty. But and I think, bro, Baldwin, fire writer, undeniable. The way I've been describing it is enchanting. And honestly, the closest thing I can think of is Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon, where it's like both of those books are like, I stayed up too late reading this kind of thing, and books that when I sat down, almost invariably, literally invariably, I kept reading longer than I thought I would. So anyway, my only I'm giving it an A-, and it's probably higher. My only complaint is that I just would have liked something a little more than 170 pages, but I totally understand at the same time the fact that this book is perfect in its length. So A, meet me in the middle, A. Okay, whew. That's book number 1. Up next, we have The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell. So here, let me set this down, bro. I need to get serious for a second. Okay, The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell. And The Power of Myth is, the premise of this book is, it's actually that it's like it's an interview style. I don't know if you can tell, but it's like interview style where it's like, it literally says Joseph Campbell, Bill Moyer. And look, also I have like cool pictures and stuff. But anyway, it's a transcript of a PBS documentary or something that was one of the most popular to date in history of television, one of the most popularly broadcasted documentaries or features or whatever. And it's career journalist Bill Moyers talking to, I think, a leading scholar in comparative mythology in the world, Joseph Campbell. And they basically just talk about mythology. What even really is mythology? What's the value of mythology? The universal nature of it, spiritual nature of it, myth in the modern world, just all these different things is broken up into chapters. And I think it's just a fantastic it really turned me on and personally affected a whole like area of like intellectual interest that I hadn't thought about. But so I can, I'm going to be biased with this book because it's one of those like, I've talked about this, changed my life books. But just the idea that mythology, right, it's not just like stories. And anyone who knows about mythology, everyone is kind of into it, like they think it's sick or they want to know more about it, because there's something about it is that is more than just like, you know, a story. The idea is that it's like mythologies, because they're the same basically all around the world, and that makes sense because mythologies are basically like stories about the themes of what it is to be human, of human experience in all its different forms. And one of the things they talk about is the universal nature of myth. Joseph Campbell has this line where he says something like, the themes are timeless, the inflection is to the culture. It's as if the same old play were being acted out by local players putting on local costumes, but you know, it's the same old play. And because it's true, and he gives you line by line comparisons. And honestly, if I did a full book review, I'd go into some of them because I think they're fascinating. But I've talked about it, you know, stuff like the flood myth, creation myth, the same stories just with little variation. It's like their own version. And this is in cases where we can basically rule out any possibility of cross contact. We're talking across the world, centuries, millennia ago. Like if they had contact, this would just change everything about how we thought that time period worked. I think obviously mythology is a super interesting topic, and you know, it got me onto reading. Actually, you know, this is a perfect. It got me onto reading his next book, the Hero with 1,000 Faces, which is his more concentrated, almost you would say academic work, but like really good still. And I say that like it's perfect timing because I read that while I was reading this, and that's gonna play into that. But first, to me, A+, if I'm being realistic, the lowest, even to the skeptic, the lowest is B+. And I think for the average, A-, A, and if you're like me, A+. So Power of Myth, Joseph Campbell, like I said. And then I was reading his other book while I read, and I hate this cover, like just this whole copy is really quite terrible. It's very ugly. But A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. So here's the thing about this one. This one is pitched as a like young adult fantasy novel, and it's like, you know, it's kind of true, but at the same time, if I had to describe like what is this book about, it is almost more like a parable. And the closest thing I could, like what I was thinking of when I read this in terms of just like form, like how the story is told, it's like Siddhartha, where Siddhartha is just very broad terms, you know, like going over the course of this person's whole life. It's usually a very short book, and this book is short too. You can see the mark, you know, it's a quick book. So anyway, so that's kind of like what we're working with in terms of the story. I think the theme, so okay, the plot is basically about this boy, this kid named Ged. Yeah, I think we follow him from birth. This boy named Ged, who by the end of the book will have become this sort of great wizard. But pretty early on in the process, he like through this crazy ritual ceremony kind of thing, looses this like shadow creature into the world. So most of this book is him literally chasing down to the ends of the earth this shadow creature, and of course learning lessons along the way. This is very much like as much as anything. This is a coming of age story for Ged. The thing about Earthsea, which was again so perfect paired with Joseph Campbell, is it's very like mythical in nature, where it's like the magic system itself works by you like speak the ancient language with which the world was written. Like if you only knew the true name of like the hawk and you could speak it into existence, it would do your beck and call, right? It's like the universe was written in this actual language. And then she has just like beautiful banger lines talking about like, I don't forget, but like just like the rays of sun and the dew of drops on the grass and the waves of the ocean. These are all syllables of that great word slowly spoken by the shining whatever, like some crazy shit. But the idea that the natural world itself is a manifestation of this really what it is voice of God, like that Yahweh. I don't even know if that's it, but that initial sound, and I swear that's like a Buddhist idea too, is just in the beginning it's like the word Aum, like that kind of shit. So it was, like I said, so I don't know if that affects my reading, but I thought that was a really cool aspect of this book. Personally, I'm gonna ultimately give this book, so I think in my head just right now I would say B to B+, because personally what I was looking for more. And that might just be me, right? Because I was kind of, especially when I was going into this, I was like, I want a fantasy novel that I can really just dive into. Because people have been recommending some fire fantasy novels. I just read The Name of the Wind. So I was thinking like, okay, let's go. But this was like not that. But I also just in general, like, I don't know. I do have my sort of, I think the writing could be really good, but I still got some. So B plus, somewhere around there, and it could be higher for you for all I know. I know this is some people's like absolute favorite book. So, and shout out Ursula K. Le Guin. So maybe this would just be a good place to start. It's up to you. Okay. I'm gonna real quick take a break because I realize I haven't even been hitting the doobie. So let's take a quick breather. Nice. Okay, dude, I didn't smoke. Wow, I'm a lightweight, bro. That's crazy because I'm actually high as fuck. It's that gas. I mean, it sounded crazy. Hold up. Gaschata 36. So, you know, horchata X grape gas. That's crazy, bro. But okay, let's get right back into it right after this. But no, I'm just playing. Up next, we have Cosmos, which is a book I think I'm never going to do justice to. And this book is essentially, I don't really know how else to put it except for it just answers all the questions of like the universe. Like what happened before the Big Bang? How did formation of planets and galaxies and stars and everything come? How big, like, you know, the scale of the universe, the formation of life, like just all that is, I mean, like the book is about basically like what this makes you feel like and all the questions that come with that. So another thing about this, because what it is it's not just that. He goes through and talk, like, as much as anything, I think this is a book about history and sociology and politics and even literature, and bro mentions mythology in here. It's very much a book that has the humanities to it. And it's like, what I mean by that is it's like, he'll talk about the science stuff, but he also talks about like who actually invented it and like because the political constraints at the time and like cultural contextual factors and like the actual biographical accounts of how these things happen is actually really crazy. And there's like some really interesting history there. Like he gets down to like Pythagoras. Like this is a book that scratches all my itches. And I don't know how else to explain it too, besides the fact that like the one thing I'm just going to say about this book, my takeaway from it is Carl Sagan's ability to give you that sense of like wonder, like sublime delight, like divinity. I don't know how to say it. Like he just makes you feel that type of way because it's one thing. And this is what I've been saying too. It's like he breathed life. He breathes life into like the scientific concepts. Cause like the thing I think of like, okay, you can take biochem or OChem, which no, I have not taken. And it's boring as fuck though, right? I did take normal chemistry and I was falling asleep on bro, literally. So the thing is, Carl Sagan, like, you know, he gives like why is that relevant? Well, it's actually like the building blocks of biological life, and it's actually one of the most like interesting thing, like completely changes my context where now I'm interested in chemistry type shit. So Carl Sagan is that guy to me. I'll give this book an A+, and I think that's just actually objectively what it is. I don't even think that's biased. I think that's just facts. Okay, and up next, I don't have it, but the Tusculan Disputations by Cicero. Big head, my favorite big head. I actually don't even know his name. Marcellius, something Cicero, but we're just going to call bro Cicero. And I talked about this elsewhere, but the Tusculan Disputations is basically him, Cicero, getting all of his homies and going to his little villa house in Tusculum, I believe it was. You know, like I said, I'm actually reading Cicero right now. And rather than just do, you know, little idle, that's how my introduction said, like idle activities, you know, instead of just lazing about, they went and I forget exactly what he said, but basically what they would do is they would go and then they would just do philosophy. They would just go upstairs, pick a topic, because they have a number of topics: grief, suffering, death, love, virtue, what is a good life, you know, all those kinds of things. They just sit down, and that's what I love about this book, honestly, is it's kind of like the spirit of philosophy to me. It's just like that idea of like getting all the homies together, coming up with like premises and going step by step, and it's like you agree with everything along the way, but they just lead to like counterintuitive conclusions, like, you know, there's nothing to fear about death, or I don't know, like it's beneficial for you to be a virtuous person. And he just has like one of my favorite lines too. He said, because the idea of philosophy as being kind of like what makes us human, what like makes us, it's kind of like that higher truth to us. And he says something like, "Oh philosophy, thou guide of life, what had not only I myself but all of man been without you?" And it's like that really is the cornerstone of the human. And I just, you know, it's ancient Rome, it's Cicero, and he's an orator. Bro is going off. I think it's just objectively good. But that's the Tusculan Disputations. I did want to say one more thing. the idea, he said, this is a fire line. He said, the most extensive of all the arts, the art of living well, something like that. Like the art of living a good life. And this idea too, this very stoic idea, we can never control, because I think it is Marcus, Cicero had a lot of crazy things happen in his life. So the idea that you can't control external conditions, and that everything that one needs is contained within one's own mind. You know, that whole stoic idea. Like I said, Cicero is an OG stoic. So, and I'll give this book an A-. Fuck it, why not? I mean, you'll see pretty quickly if you like it or not. And I could even be convinced for an A, to be honest. I fucked with the Tusculan Disputations. I really did. And maybe that's me reading Cicero now and kind of imputing that upon him. But anyway, let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know what you're reading right now. Big Nate's not going anywhere. Welcome back. And thank you for watching Big Nate's Book Reviews, home of the best book reviews.